Once again, I want to remind everyone that we have a new schedule. We upload videos every Wednesday and Saturday. However, the spooky Halloween mood is almost here. So starting on the 20th of October, you can expect our videos to be themed around spooky stuff. Also, my birthday is on the 26th. So if you have some free time that day, check out our Twitch because I'll likely be streaming for the majority of that day. But now, let's get into something less spooky. Unless you're grinding ranked games. You can't really get more spooky than solo queue. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rift News, the simplest source of news for the laziest people. Over the weeks, a lot of Ask Riot questions have accumulated on the internet, so we will have a look at those. But before that, let's blitz through PvE. After the release of Dragon Tamer Heimerdinger and all the draconic content released with him, not much has happened honestly. Patch 8.20 is already out, so Infernal Amumu got his splash art and he was wrapped in that patch together with Heimerdinger and the new Ezreal, who, by the way, got 3 new emotes of his own. Tears of Joy, Easy, and Gotta Run. I'd appreciate it more if it was called Gotta Go Fast instead, but there's only so much influence Darkmane can have on the game. Ezreal also got his own login screen, which now uses updated version of the old theme. Of course, since the latest PvE update already went live, that means it was replaced by a new set of goodies. Well, I say new, but we have already seen the majority of it. The spooky stuff is now available for testing. This includes Trick or Treat Echo, Count Gladula, and Bewitching Jenna. All 3 of these skins also got 6 different chroma skins, and each gets an icon with a possible golden version of it. As a bonus, there will be 2 more spooky kitten icons and some emotes. The spooky ward was revealed to be a very cute kitten, which is this close to replace my Pizza Chicken ward, but we all know Pizza Chicken was the peak of Riot's design department. So keep an eye on the spooky stuff because they will pop up on the live servers very soon. I'm pretty sure Doom bots will arrive with it. The other half of this PvE update is the Keida Dance Group. As a part of the after party event, which we assume will happen right after Worlds, Riot came up with 4 new skins that make a K-pop group together. Honestly, at first I didn't care about it that much, but the moment they showcased the tech used for these skins, I was sold. Usually, a good skin will have unexpectedly good visual effects, which the new Arya, Kali, Evelynn and Kai'Sa have, but this time Riot made sure to focus more on the sound effects instead of the visual side, which makes sense since they are a K-pop group. They sing, I think anyway. Each of the Keida skins have sound effects unlike anything else we've seen in League. Ahri's Q will play a melody in B minor on its way out, and in F major when it comes back. Her dash will also play 3 specific notes that put together a proper chord. Akali's sound effects are very subtle. The most noticeable ones are the kick and slice from her dash, and the beat drop on her smoke bomb. Evelynn plays chords with every Q, her ultimate is an awesome bass drop, and they managed to make her charm even more sensual.
That's it now. Let your guard down.
Those moans are gonna make solo queue bearable. A really nice touch is that you can notice club music playing in the background when you're stealthed. Being the leader of this group, Kai'Sa follows along the same trends. Her Q will play harmonic melodies, and the rest of her abilities have additional sound effects. Then there is the prestige version of this skin. The sound effects are nearly the same, they just feel a bit more bassier. However, on the visual side, the skin is a lot shinier and has much better special effects. The fact that the skin itself is constantly glittering is a nice bonus. Of course, because all of these are a group, they all have the same recall. Each one of them will have their own icon, a mic drop emote, and this rated T for totally appropriate ward. Lastly, there will be new orbs and bags coming in with this event, so open up your wallets, you will never see your money again. As a bonus, this year's Victoria skin was revealed. It will be Orianna and you will get a chroma for every queue in which you placed gold or higher. This means that the chromas are not tied to specific queues anymore, but rather the number of queues you succeeded in. So if you are gold in 1, you will get the base skin. If you are gold in 2 queues, you will get chroma number 1. And if you are gold in all 3, you will get chroma number 2. As well, on top of that. You have until the 12th of November to climb up there. But that's pretty much the current PvE summed up. When it comes to lore, we got a new story for Ezreal, Lucian and Kassadin. Lucian's story and Ezreal's field notes were already posted on our channel, if you are too lazy to read. Now, before we move on to the Ask Riot posts, there are two more things I want to mention. First of all, this year's All-Star event was announced to happen on the 6th of December. It's a 2-day event where everyone generally enjoys themselves and screws around in League Pro Play. In total there will be 5 events. All-Star 1v1 tournament, All-Star Charity 2v2 tournament, Regional Rivalry show matches, East vs West All-Star Showdown, and Mixed Team alternative game modes. The All-Star event is usually as good as the April Fool's one, so keep an eye on it. The other thing I wanted to mention is that Rory Alderton, an animator at Riot Games, decided to tackle some of the champions' running animations in his free time. All of his work might only be used in-game if it really fits, but I still wanted to showcase some of the new animations that might inspire future updates. His Queen update has more spring in her step. Fiora is more ready to duel. The only reason why this animation wouldn't work is because she always looks ready to attack whatever is in front of her, even if there's nothing there. So if she was fleeing from someone, it would look comical. However, this could be fixed rather easily. Make her running animation switch to the new one whenever she is running towards an enemy, just like the legendary zombie Brand running cycle. Then he did an update for Karma, which I'll say right now, there is no reason not to use the new one. He also had a look at Alistar, but I'll admit getting him right will be difficult. And the newest addition was Veigar, who, just like Karma, is pretty awesome. And now, let's finally have a look at the questions. We essentially have 3 sources for answered questions here. We have the Ask Riot 100th edition, which I will quickly go through. Then there is the ranked edition of Ask Riot. And on top of that, thanks to Ben Forbes, I was able to ask the designers questions of my own about the new tier designs. So why don't we start with those? I asked the designers 4 questions focused on the looks and the designs of the new ranked system. And I was able to get answers from Riot Sayaka, who's the lead artist for metagame systems. And apparently she's also the voice of Diana's theme. My first question was, are tiers based around specific regions, or is the final design more of a mix of different materials? We definitely found inspiration in the factions. Factions have distinct personalities and visual patterns, so in drawing inspiration from them, the emblems gained more of a connection to the League of Legends universe. Pulling from the shapes, materials and the mood of each faction helped us create emblems that could look unified, yet unique at every tier. This gives the emblems more meaning and a League spin on a general idea like competitive medals. I'll just quickly say that any connection to the world of League of Legends Riot is able to pull off within the client is awesome. My next question was, were power levels of regions considered when picking which tier they would match? For example, Bronze based on Zone, or Grandmaster based on Targon. That was one of our biggest challenges. We did not want to imply power levels of the different regions. Even more so, we didn't want to alienate players by attaching your identity to a faction you didn't like. We want them to feel like a celebration of your accomplishments, no matter your allegiance. Instead of focusing on power, we looked at the mood and the personality of each faction. Inspired by the brawling nature of Bilgewater, we thought it fitting for our new Iron tier. Personally, I really love the concept of Shurima for gold. The day I bust out of silver and touch gold for the first time, a true ascension to godhood. Honestly, this is something I totally missed the first time. It feels genius when you realize that gold is the place where everyone wants to be. Everyone is climbing to gold so they could get their skins. And since gold is based on Shurima, it really does feel like one has ascended. I just really hope there will be a cool animation with it. Next question. Did you consider using region-specific materials, like Noxian Black Iron or Demacian Patricide Steel? In a lot of ways, we wanted these new emblems to feel familiar. Sebastian, a visual designer who defined much of the system, preserved the silhouettes of the original wing designs, and developed a material and color system with the concept artist that would make each tier recognizable when seen alone. Even though we were inspired by the factions, their palette didn't always line up with the names of the tiers. We changed the highest tiers pretty extensively. Because of the significant effort of reaching these levels, we wanted to make them different from the rest and really celebrate that moment. This did give us chance to pull in references from armor and architecture like you mentioned from Noxus and Demacia. This is something I mentioned last time when we had a look at these designs for the first time. Especially with Platinum and Diamond, you can really feel that they were mostly based on the designs that were in League pretty much since Season 2. Platinum always had that iconic greenish hue to it, and Diamond was always a combination of sparkly blues. These materials can be hard to find in League, but changing them would cause confusion. And my last question was, any possible teasers for scrapped ideas? We started with a few questions, like what are these emblems? Are they armor? Are they weapons? Are they similar to military achievements? Ultimately, we really like the idea of upgrading your armor, since your rank is so much a part of your identity throughout the client. We had some crazy thoughts that included Hextech Masterwork weapons, but we decided it felt too specific. And since these need to represent all roles, positions, champions, playstyles, and many more things that create your identity, it needed to be more abstracted. We also toyed with the idea of climbing the ranks of a single faction, but that had many of the same issues and additionally, poor clarity due to them having such a similar aesthetic throughout. Honestly, I think the only other way Riot could have gone was to have a weapon swapping behind the emblem. But since the blade at the back only peeks out ever so slightly, I don't think they would be able to represent tanks with shields or mages with long staves. Continuing the theme of ranked seasons, let's have a look at the ranked edition of Ask Riot now. Here we have 5 questions that I will quickly sum up. Why is it Iron tier instead of Wood tier? Answered by Sapmagic. Apparently, the naming process for the top tier was pretty straightforward. Grandmaster felt natural, but the lower tier was a bit more problematic. It had to be something that would fit below Bronze, and it had to be metal in order for it to fit the theme. While Wood is pretty iconic, people also connect it with jokes and memes, which would feel pretty bad for those who actually land there. Those are especially new players. The real choice was between Copper and Iron. However, in some languages, Copper can be translated into some questionable stuff. For example, in Japan, Copper sounds identical to Kappa, a creepy looking demon. And in Korea it means this stinks. The next question was, it feels like new accounts are placed in mid-silver. I feel this contributes to a large scale gap within the silver tier. Will Riot change how accounts new to ranked are placed into the system? This one was answered by Gortok. The simple answer is that Riot is trying to fix the issue by checking the player's skills faster. This will help new players to get in their place easier, and Smurfs will leave low play earlier. In the recent dev diary for ranked, position ranks weren't mentioned. Has that idea been thrown out? This one was answered by Sapmagic. Of course, if you don't know, positional ranked is a type of ranked games where you get matched up depending on how well you can play specific roles. Riot is still working on it, but Sapmagic mentioned they are focusing on explaining the other new things, like splits and rewards. Position ranks will be explained closer to the start of the next season. With new placements and new tiers coming, how will ranked reset work? Hard or soft? Again, answered by Gortok. And again, the simple answer would be soft reset will make sense. You won't start your rank more than 5 divisions below where you ended last time. Which means that if you finished a season in Platinum 5, you won't go below Gold 5 at the beginning of the next season. Also, the highest starting point is still Platinum 1. And the last question, will changes be made to how ranked handles AFK players? It feels bad for the 4 people who stay. Will there be more penalties for AFK players? Adjusted LP losses for the rest of the team? Adjustments to remake? Once again, answered by Gortok. The issue here is that if Riot makes leaving too punishing, people won't be able to leave for any reasons at all. And sometimes people are pressuring you into leaving so the rest of the team would save their LP. So there has to be some kind of balance. As an example for positional ranks, if you troll and AFK on roles you normally don't play, you will be punished on all your roles, including your main position. And now we get to the 100th edition of Ask Riot. We can skip through 80% of the questions because this video was compiled in a funny way. So only a couple of serious questions got answered. For example, we learned that Nunu and Willem have that name because both characters are equally important. But when we get to someone like Quinn and Valor, Quinn is still the main champion. We also learned that when Mordekaiser's rework arrives, they will likely try to preserve his pizza feet, because at this point they are very iconic. Also, this year was heavy with reworks, but 2019 will be roughly 50-50 on new champions and reworked champions. But the most important thing we learned is that Riot will eventually release a new game.
Dear Riot Games,
I've been having sleepless nights wondering why your company is called Riot Games.
Games is a plural form.
which was confirmed by my English teacher.
Why isn't games singular? Because you can only make one game.
Can you please enlighten me?
Are you going to release a new game in the future? Sincerely,
A concerned
Summoner.
Well, if you didn't know, we released a board game.
we made Blitz pour around it.
Are we going to make any larger other games someday?
Mystery.
Yes!
You can see that at the beginning they joke around, but the confirmation comes at the end. Also in a slightly jokey way. It is probably to throw people off. But to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Riot announced a new game in the next 2 or 3 years. People have been asking for it for a while, and apparently some writers are working on new unique projects. For example, Ghostcrawler, who for the longest time was the main guy for Balance, was now moved to another project. And if you start moving big people to new projects, something gets shady. So I would honestly take this as a confirmation that something will come. At some point. Possibly in the next decade. Hey! Did you know that we have social media and Twitch where we talk about other League facts and stories? And did you know that we have neat mugs and shirts too? The links to all of that will be below. And as always, thank you, come again.